I built this huge Lego Star Wars Battle Utapau mock, and today I'm going to show you the whole mock in its entirety. But first, we need to add all the vehicles, minifigures to make this mock truly come to life. And like that, the Battle of Utapau has come to life. Battle of Utapau was one of the final battles of the Clone Wars, where you see Obi-Wan Kenobi lead an all-out invasion to attempt to kill General Grievous and end the war. He is ultimately successful, but unfortunately, Order 66 took place. Now I'm going to break down this 5x2 gray baseplate mock into two separate parts: the ground floor and the rockwork, and the Utapau city where the main battle is taking place. The first thing I did when creating this mock was start with the ground floor, in which we see a few seconds in Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan falls to the bottom of the sinkhole. I put a variety of water patches to represent the look that we see in the movie, as well as some other variety of pieces of dark tan, medium nougat, and olive green to capture the color scheme of the terrain. Now for the massive rock wall to create the depth of the large sinkhole. I built these huge slot sections. That way, this would allow me to build a ton of detail and great height at the same time. I truly do love how this turned out, and definitely will be using this style rockwork in the future. There are many different cracks and crevices, as well as different patches of plant life growing on the side of the cliffscape. Another Easter egg of sorts I added was this little cave on the left side to represent something where maybe some wildlife would live on the bottom of the sinkhole floor. I wasn't able to make such creatures, but here is what they would look like in Revenge of the Sith, as they would eat little powans that would go down and fish. I thought that was a really fun fact there, so I wanted to add that in the build, but just imagine they're somewhere lurking in the water. Overall, I really loved how the rockwork turned out for this build, and it's probably my favorite part of the actual building process. Now let's go into the main city portion of the build. Now this city takes inspiration from Star Wars Episode 3 and also Battlefront 2. Starting off with one of the most iconic things about Utapau is the large landing pads protruding out of the rock. The first one I built was this wider looking one that you see very quickly in some of the shots. And this holds the ATTE that just landed and is starting to march into the city, as well as mini clones and airborne troopers leading the way. And you can't forget about Commander Cody getting his iconic message from Palpatine. Now the main landing platform is longer and has some of the cool dark tan markings going all the way through it. It also has one of the gunships landing a full regiment of clone troopers pouring out into the battle. This was one of my goals when starting this mock, actually, was to create this scene in particular, since I always loved as a kid seeing the gunships land the troops onto the battlefield and seeing them immediately fighting the droids. I don't know, it's just that Clone Wars kid in me that I absolutely love that. And the last landing pad is actually the smallest one that is just made for a single starfighter. In this case, it's Obi-Wan's blue version. Even though this starfighter flew away before the battle started, I had to include it in this build. Now let's get into the battle portion of the build. I put these long open streets with the dark tan patterns going all throughout it, just like you see in Battlefront 2. And since it's just the very beginning of the battle, all these separatist forces are hunkered down in every building and basically coming from everywhere. I guess you could call this the 10th level.
10th level. thousands of battle droids.
We have this tall skyscraper-esque building with a door on the bottom and a hallway on the top where we have a couple of droids shooting down on the oncoming clone forces, as well as an explosion and a crab droid on the side of this building, which I thought was a really cool yet scary touch, because imagine a crab droid just crawling on the side of the building coming right at you. So I thought that'd be kind of a fun little thing to add to this, kind of going against the clone army. And then of course I tried to add other cool crab droid scenes throughout the MOC, since that's kind of a iconic thing from the Battle of Utapau. The next building over is the smallest but stands out from the rest, being raised up by these pillars and mostly being light gray. I put some droids on the second level shooting, and as well I put one of the native Pauan warriors slicing down a B1. We really didn't get to see these guys in action in the movie, so I wanted to make sure that they are represented here. Now for what's going on the right side of the city. We have some clone forces pushing through and taking out some of the droids' initial defenses. I even put a 212th clone trooper on top of this crab droid to try to recreate that iconic scene we see where the clone trooper is absolutely dominating that crab droid. The droids have taken refuge in this massive hotel-like building with cool windows, and it's 3 stories tall. The second story has some clone troopers pushing through, trying to stop the droids from taking out a group of clones down below. As well, on the very top of the building, we have this huge main entry door where a couple of Pauans are actually being held hostage by a couple of droids, and some clone forces are trying to resolve the situation. And you can't forget about the other clone gunship flying overhead. I had to add a couple more gunship scenes flying throughout the MOC since they're such an integral part of the clone force on the Battle of Utapau. Now this is by far my favorite building in my Utapau MOC. I really love the scale and the pillars I used here. And here are some great overview shots of the entirety of the MOC, all put together, all the minifigures on there, and I'm just truly ecstatic how this turned out. I've always loved the Utapau scenes growing up, so I'm so happy I was able to make little me's dream come true building this. And there you have my completed LEGO Star Wars Battle of Utapau MOC. This is my 4th large-scale Star Wars series I've done on this channel, and this one has truly tested me in many different ways, but I think it turned out great. And there's my Battle of Utapau MOC, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video showcasing off every single detail I have going on here. This was definitely a fun challenge to build, and I just can't wait to show this off at Brickworld Chicago 2024. So that's coming up in next week, next Saturday. You can come actually see this in person in Chicago. I cannot wait to show this off. It'll be my first ever MOC to show off in person. And guys, you know I love building these large LEGO Star Wars dioramas, and I'm gonna continue to do that here in the future. But I'm gonna leave y'all with a little sneak peek of a tease of what my next MOC is going to be, and it might involve this little battle droid right here. Guys, thank you so much for watching this series, and I'll see y'all next time.